Rev your engines and fasten your seatbelts. It's time for Thunder Talk with Dan Bailey, keeping you up to date on everything going on this season at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Now, here's your host, Dan Bailey.
Hey, race fans, welcome back to another edition of Thunder Talk on the WINONA Sports Network, 99.3 FM, and streaming live on WINONARadio.com. We're going to talk about Nutrien Ag Solutions Night coming up at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. But before we do that, a quick note to those of you who might be tuning in via the Mississippi Thunder Speedway YouTube channel. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Toss some comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking. And, of course, click that bell so that you are reminded of new content to the Mississippi Thunder Speedway YouTube channel. This evening at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, Nutrien Ag Solutions Night. We're going to have the River City Manufacturing USRA Modifieds on the track, the Black Horse Bar and Grill USRA B-Mods, the Hormans HVAC USRA Hobby Stocks, and a return for the second time this year of the Micro Sprints competing on the Big Third Mile. As a matter of fact, joining us on this week's edition of Thunder Talk is the most recent and, I can say, only feature winner with a Micro Sprint on the Big Third Mile at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, Caleb Moen. Caleb, first of all, welcome to Thunder Talk this week.
Thanks for having me.
The Micro Sprints came to Mississippi Thunder Speedway in June, and you guys hit the high banks, and you guys put on quite a show, turning some incredibly fast laps, and at the end of the night, you were down there talking with me in Victory Lane. Your first thoughts when you got to Mississippi Thunder Speedway a month ago?
I've never raced on the big track there, so I was really looking forward to it because I wanted to race and see what it was like to race with all the big dogs there. They race real cars, and it was great. I mean, it was a really racy track, and I couldn't have asked for a better night.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't, coming away with the feature win on that evening. Now, you tour the circuit with your Micro Sprint. Tell the folks listening how Mississippi Thunder Speedway compares to some of the other tracks that you visit with this series.
It's bigger than our kart tracks, but it's smaller than other big tracks that we had at, so it makes for a really racy and fast track is what it seemed like when I went there about a month ago.
Does it seem like a majority of the tracks that you guys visit are high-banked tracks, or do you get to experience some different corner options, a little flatter, maybe a little wider, maybe a little narrower?
It's around the same. It's usually higher. We never really raced on a really flat track yet, but for instance, probably our highest bank track we've ever raced at.
Now, for those individuals who may not have been at Mississippi Thunder Speedway back in June when the Micro Sprints came to MTS, they may not be aware of exactly what a Micro Sprint is, and unfortunately, in my opinion, the name is a little misleading. The term Micro Sprint makes it sound like it's like a radio-controlled car or something like that, but these are real race cars. They're just a little bit smaller than a full-fledged sprint car, maybe that somebody has seen on TV. Give us the intro, the 101 version on what makes a Micro Sprint a Micro Sprint. Tell us about the engine package, the chassis, etc.
It's a little bit smaller than a regular full-size car. It has all the shocks and torsion bars and everything you would have on a regular sprint car. The only thing really different is the chassis, and the engine in it is a cross rocket, like a Yamaha R600 motor in it, and they make about around 140 horsepower.
Would you say they're maybe about a third the size of a full-size sprint car?
Yep, I'd say that for sure.
So you put an engine like that into one of these lighter builds of a sprint car, you've got a tremendous power-to-weight ratio that you can play with when you're out on the track, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Now, how long have you been piloting a Micro Sprint?
This is actually my first year ever actually piloting one. We've only had probably 10 races on it.
First year, and you've already got 2 feature wins. So are you saying that this is a great start to your Micro Sprint career?
Yeah, I'd say that. We had lower expectations than what we came out with.
So let's do the background on Caleb Moen here. How did you get started in motorsports? What was the first thing that you remember racing? And how did you transition from getting started up into these Micro Sprints?
I started my first ever kart track I went to was Thunder Hill, just to watch the little karts, and then we decided to pick one up that night there. A little rookie cage, very tiny, very kind of slow at Thunder Hill Speedway. And then we got into that for about a year, and then we moved up into a junior wing, which was a really tiny version of a micro, only there's no shocks or no nothing. It's pretty much a bare chassis with a motor in it, and that was a little bit faster. We had about 2 years of that, and then we moved up into a 250 intermediate, which was bigger engine. It was a 250 dirt bike engine in it, and then we raced that for about 4 years, and then we went to a micro this season.
These micro sprints turn fast laps. As a matter of fact, at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, when you guys were here at the end of June, I think you guys turned the fastest lap of the night, including all the car divisions, didn't you?
Yep, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, we did turn faster than the A-mods. We did turn the fastest lap. That was pretty cool.
So let's put this into perspective. Tell everybody how old you are now.
I'm 14, and I'm like one of the younger people in our class. We have usually 15 to 16-year-olds, and we race with older people too, like Joe Snow. He's pretty old, no offense.
So tell us what the family thinks about you turning in the fastest laps on such a fast track like Mississippi Thunder Speedway when you're 14 years old.
They thought it was pretty cool and pretty crazy. All my fans that usually come out and watch me and watch the Facebook page, they thought it was really cool, and they didn't expect it out of a micro sprint. And to be honest, I didn't either until I looked at the lap times.
You know, Mississippi Thunder Speedway is so wide, we can regularly run our full-sized cars 4, 5, 6 wide. When you're out there behind the wheel of your sprint, does it feel like that track is just huge, like you've got a lot of room to play with?
Yeah, that's what's nice about it. I mean, you can dodge crashes and weave in and out of traffic, and that's what was fun last month when I had to weave in and out of traffic between the lap traffic, and that's what got me the lead there.
Yeah, you were coming through turns 3 and 4. There were 2 cars in front of you, one on the inside line, one kind of running the mid-groove, and you just slipped right between them and went on to a feature win. So we've talked about how fast these cars are. We've talked about how they're exactly like, other than their size and the engine package, they're exactly like a full-size sprint car. Do you have some plans or some goals for your future as a driver? Do you feel like maybe a full-sized sprint car is in your future?
I sure hope so, and I know that'd be a really great thing. Maybe go to a 305 that raced around here, and that'd be a great thing to be after a micro sprint and after a few years of this.
At Mississippi Thunder Speedway, we see stock cars week in and week out. We see hobby stocks and late models and modifieds. Have you ever thought about a race car rather than a sprint car, or are you really a fan of the sprint car sport and that's where you want to go?
I've watched both at the highest it can go. I watched the World of Outlaw late models and the World of Outlaw sprint cars, and to be honest with you, I'm more of a sprint car guy, but I think they're both great.
When you put together a program like this, I know that it doesn't just fall into place with a wish and a dream. I know that there are a lot of individuals who help you out, whether it's at the shop or at the track or even at home trying to get prepared. A very important part of putting together any race team, of course, are the sponsors that come on board to help support your efforts. Who is sponsoring Caleb Moen Racing in the number 88 for the 2022 season?
Well, first I want to thank my grandma and my grandpa for making all this happen, and my main mechanic, you could say, is Jeff Johnson. He's awesome and great. And then some of my sponsors here are Polish Enterprises, Blade Runner Transport LLC, Buschendorf Snow Removal, Park Ridge Distributing, and then you got Oak Ridge Chemicals and Dell's Elk Lake Tavern, and you got Drop Zone Septic and Portables, and you got the Poorhouse, Cat's Poorhouse out of Elk Mound, and you got Moen Construction, also Timber Inn Bar and Grill, and then also Hobbsy's, your neighborhood bar, and Gruen Auto, and a special thanks to Shelly Johnson, too.
Great group of supporters to help you out with that number 88 micro sprint. Let's talk about the entire 2022 season. Out of the schedule that you're looking at for this entire year, what is the favorite track that you visit? Which is the track that you have either visited already and you enjoy it the most, or a track maybe that you haven't gotten to yet, but you're really looking forward to getting there?
My favorite track this season probably would be between Mississippi Thunder, the big track, and Thunder Hill Speedway. Those are probably the most raciest tracks I've raced on yet.
Those two tracks are quite different. For anybody who's been to Mississippi Thunder Speedway, they've seen the little track in the infield that we call the Lightning Speedway. Thunder Hill is about the size of the Lightning Speedway, isn't it? So you're picking two tracks that are completely different size-wise. What is it that you like about each of those race surfaces?
Thunder Hill, it's great. I love the atmosphere of all my sponsors being in there, and it's a really, usually always have a really good track, and I like getting up right next to the guardrail when the groove gets up there. And then Mississippi Thunder, I love the big track and love racing against all the big cars. You're racing with them that night, and it was cool to win there and pull in a big car victory lane and get interviewed. That was awesome.
Is there a track that you haven't been to yet but you want to visit, whether it's coming up later on this year in the schedule, or even if it was a track that's not on your schedule, you just think to yourself, I would really like to get to that track. That would be fun to race there someday?
I think Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Tulsa Expo Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that'd be it'd be awesome if I got to race in Tulsa Shootout. That'd be a really good atmosphere, and the track's always really good there.
Is the shootout an event that is on your schedule, or is that just something that you have seen, you've heard about, and you'd like to get there someday?
We're debating on if it's on our schedule. I mean, if the rest of the season goes good, because we raced there to be in late December, and we were thinking about it.
14 years old, you're piloting a micro sprint. What else fills the life of Caleb Moen for fun? What do you like to do other than driving your micro sprint? Or is this what you really focus on 100%?
This summer, it's really just been my micro sprint. Other than that, maybe I go fishing sometimes when I don't race, or I'm at other races watching bigger cars.
Well, I tell you what, Caleb, we've had some bad luck the last couple of weeks with Mother Nature. She poured a lot of rain on us last Friday night. We didn't get to go racing at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, so I hope that Mother Nature plays nice with us and we can get out on the high banks and have ourselves another great night at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Congratulations on that feature win from June, the last time you were at Mississippi Thunder Speedway, and best of luck with your outing at MTS tonight.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Caleb Moen, driver of the number 88 Micro Sprint, going to be hitting the high banks at Mississippi Thunder Speedway this evening as part of Nutrien Ag Solutions Night. Not only can you see the micro sprints turning in fast laps, I mean lightning fast laps on the high banks and the big third mile, but you'll also see the Horman's HVAC USRA Hobby Stocks, the Black Horse Bar and Grill USRA B Mods, and the River City Manufacturing USRA Modifieds. Now tonight is also Free County Fans Night number 6, which means that residents from Trempealeau County, Wisconsin, La Crosse County, Wisconsin, Mower County, Minnesota, Dodge County, Minnesota, Fayette County, Iowa, or Mitchell County, Iowa will get into the grandstands absolutely free. All you need to do is present some sort of proof of residence, such as your valid driver's license, to show that you come from one of those counties, and you get into the grandstands absolutely free. All the admission information is available by following Mississippi Thunder Speedway's social media efforts. Of course, you can also point your favorite internet browser to the official Mississippi Thunder Speedway website, MississippiThunder.com.
That was Thunder Talk, keeping you up to date on everything going on at Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Thunder Talk is powered by Arcadia Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
You ever notice that when you're on a fishing trip, you drive your boat all the way to the other side of the lake because you think that's where the best fishing is? And the people staying at the cabins on that side of the lake, well, they come and fish where your cabin is. You don't have to drive a long ways to catch the big fish. And at Arcadia Motors, you don't have to drive a long ways to get the best deal on a new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram truck. The best deals are right in the bay next to your cabin. Take the short, scenic drive to Arcadia Motors. ArcadiaDodge.com.